Hello. Hello. I think we're live. This is the third time we've tried to do this, so praying to the gods that it's all going okay. My name is Russell. You're watching for Chits and Giggles Tea and a Chit Chat live, and I'm joined by Bez Shahriari. Did I say?
Yes, exactly. It's very good for a non-4C speaker, so
I'm glad.
Shahriari. But yeah, it's lovely to be here, and as you said, we tried to do it once at your flat and then once a couple of weeks ago,
I don't even want to
and
think.
we will see how the technology takes us.
We are praying. We are praying right now. Listen. So why don't you do a quick introduction to the people watching who may not have heard of you before?
Well, my name is Bez, and I am a board game designer, artist, developer, self-publisher. So I've got a bunch of props just to go really
Demonstrate.
quickly. In a Bind was my first thing with the expansions. Then I did In a Bind Junior, which is now known as Yogi, which a lot of people have played around the world. There's Wibble Plus Plus is my game. Well, it used to be called Wibble Plus Plus. Now it's the L deck, which is a whole game system with lots of games for it, word games, party games, storytelling activities. This is
Wow.
the same.
I mean,
In a
Bez,
thing.
that is so many, and don't worry, we will get a chance to talk all about your games. But the most important question is, what tea are you drinking?
What tea am I
That's right.
drinking?
Look, I'm drinking my. Do you know what? This is actually really boring today. It's PG Tips. I ran out of my good
Oh,
stuff, so I'm just going with regular PG Tips. I'm sorry if that's
there's no
exciting.
shame in some old-fashioned black
It's just
tea.
because it's mainstream. It's just a mainstream brand. I mean,
I mean,
let's talk about your tea, because I already know, because you drank this last time. But for those who didn't tune in,
I am. And it's like, this is probably the second last cup of this that I can have. This is
oh
my
no,
brother my sibling used to work in China teaching English as a foreign language. This is some green tea that they brought back, and it's in a little silicone
oh
strawberry
my
tea
god! I
strainer.
think this is the first
And
time that we've been, what do you call it? Outdone by the tea has been outdone by the container that it's in. That's amazing. Where did you get the strainer thing?
that was from a website sold via the internet. I'm not proud of it. It was via Wish. And I know
Oh,
there's a lot of dodgy stuff there because, if you buy board games there, don't go there because there's a lot of counterfeit
yeah.
stuff. But there's also some really good stuff. Like if you just want a tea strainer, or if you want, sometimes you can get shiny lipstick. That's actually really
Well,
nice.
clearly, there are some good stuff there because you just proved it with the strawberry thing. So that's amazing. We have had some people mentioning, saying hello. So we've got Jess who says hello, Bez, and
Oh, hello, Jess.
Linu Fatablu. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but they say hi, hey Jess and Bez and Russ, and hello to you too. Thanks for watching.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for tuning
Yeah,
in.
really appreciate it.
And Jess is a lovely friend from Thailand,
Oh,
and
lovely.
actually, yeah, we used to hang out together quite a bit.
Oh, well, they've
And
clearly like
yeah,
a big fan of yours. If you have any questions, by the way, I always forget this, but if you have any questions for Bez, we will be asking her some questions towards the end of the stream from yourselves. So write them in the chat, and I can read them back to her later on. And also, if you are as you can see just below me here, there's a follow account. So if you're watching this on Twitch and you don't follow me, please follow, because you can be basically notified whenever we go live in the future. So yeah, please write us questions, follow us, and then we'll be putting this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. There you go, I've done my little plug. All right, so Bez,
it's always
I know it's
necessary.
like a necessary evil, really, but
It's kind of the way that the world is. Like you want to just make this stuff and have everyone come and then join in and get this amazing stuff that you've made. But then the fact of the matter is, no one's going to find out about it unless you plug it.
does it feel a
And
bit
having
dirty though? I'm like, oh, I have to like ask for like attention. It's just weird. Anyway, we usually ask this because it is obviously a tea and a chit chat, so it's a bit less strict. We're not too formatted or anything. But obviously there is a large scale pandemic going around the world right now, and it has impacted a lot of people. So we usually ask, how has that impacted you, Bez? How are you doing? Are you doing okay?
I am doing not terribly.
Okay.
I mean, there have been some really, really dark
Hmm.
days, some dark moments. So I was at a playtesting thing last weekend, organised by a lovely person, Heather Newton, who organised this thing called Protospiel something. It was maybe Protospiel Online, but they're based in Denver,
Oh wow.
Colorado. And it was really nice to meet this person and to playtest with them and stuff. And on Saturday, I showed my own game via Zoom, and someone else showed their game via thing, just kind of spoke through all the rules, and we had a bit of a chit chat about it. Kind of, okay, it sounds a bit not very good. Have you considered this? And then we were going to play a third game on Tabletop Simulator, and I just found myself more and more exhausted.
Okay.
And on Sunday, I just was incredibly fatigued, just couldn't get up. And the truth is, like, normally I love being with
Hmm.
people, and I still love being with you right now. Like, I can see your face, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. But it's not the
No.
same as having a bunch of people in the house. And when you're focusing on something like Tabletop Simulator, it just gets so
Hmm.
draining. And that is a sad reality. And then just on Monday, like the brand new news that UK Games Expo
Hmm.
has been cancelled, this was probably going to happen. And the fact is that there's not going to be any conventions this year, realistically. I mean, I can't imagine Glasgow Games Festival happening, even though it's small, just because the whole point of a
Hmm.
convention is that you pack people
Yeah.
in, that you get people in. What can you do? Say, oh, you need to stay at least 2 meters away from people, even though you're playing these games.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. And unless we actually have things being 100% safe. And so I think this is a difficult time. It's going to, for so many people to relate their place in the
Yeah.
world. For me, a big part of my identity is just showing people games at a convention. And I know there was a question mark, should we have gone to Aircon, should we not? But I am so glad that I went, because honestly, um, yeah,
Yeah.
emotionally, it's so important. Do you know what I mean? And I think that everyone, if you're having a difficult time, like it's like I have been chatting to a couple of friends just via WhatsApp or even
Yeah.
video stuff, but do get in touch with your friends. We can still stay sane together, hopefully. And I am doing my exercise. I am doing a bit of
Hmm.
still design work. I'm still making some games for the L deck that people can play via Zoom. But it's really, and I'm still
Yeah.
having a Kickstarter going, but it's
So
really, really
obviously, yeah, I mean,
tiring
like
right
that's
now.
not the that's you're not the only person feeling that. I know like, a lot of people have been really struggling with this. It's true. We
Absolutely.
do miss socializing with people, and it's definitely not the same. I mean, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a lucky situation because I live with my partner and we live with another couple. So I mean, I don't miss so much the socializing aspect of being with real people and stuff. But it is tough, and I don't envy anybody who's in a situation where they are sort of usually. I like to think of people, some people, as being sort of recharged with real people, talking to real people, and I'm not necessarily one of
Yeah.
those people. I tend to be okay on my own, but a lot of people I know, they kind of thrive off the energy that they get from other people, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how those people are coping, but I hope that this whole ordeal is over sooner rather than later. But understanding that obviously it needs to be
The truth
done
is
correctly
that
as well.
we are not going to return to normality for another year. That's the
Mm.
truth of the matter. That until we get cases down to actually zero, which is almost an impossibility, you're just going to have to worry, are people having this? And we're not going to restart the
Hmm.
dance classes or things like that until there is actually a vaccine made. To just work out ways to reforge some sort of identity as
Hmm.
best we can. Think, okay, what can we do that brings us pleasure? I mean, for me, sometimes doing different exercises and
You
watching a video or doing some hula hooping or
I noticed actually you've been posting a lot, like a lot of tweets about sort of your daily routines and stuff, which I think has actually been quite nice to see. Because you putting yourself out there. And I noticed actually that you do that quite a lot. You're quite open with your sort of emotions and is that thing that you just said now. Obviously you're okay with sharing this, and I might understand that's because you know that it's good to sort of be talking about that.
I guess that's part of it. Like, everyone experiences these sorts of emotions and everyone goes through hard times. And if someone's like, right now I've got these thoughts where I want to be dead. And that's a thing, like, I don't feel like that right now at this moment but it's something that a lot of people are going through. And it's just to say, okay, you're not alone if you're going through this. And, there are ways to it's difficult. We are in a situation where we're going to be rethinking, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be of use to other people?
Yeah.
What's the point in anything? But then at the same time, what we can say is, okay, it is okay to just sit down and lay back and enjoy TV for 10 hours. If that's what you need to do for a day, that is permissible.
I've been raving about that lifestyle for decades now, so I'm glad that finally people are catching up to that. It's okay to watch TV, a whole series in one day. Actually, just because it wasn't one of those things I was thinking about asking you, but have you been watching TV? Any highlights? Like, have you seen any really good TV lately?
I've watched a lot of Community. I don't know if you know that.
Yes. Oh, actually, so I know
got about 4 episodes to go until I finished it all.
Oh my gosh!
So I started watching it around the time of the outbreak, and it was like, this is the thing I'm watching a lot of
I'm
now.
so glad you have good taste. And actually, a little tiny story about that is I actually know the creator who went on to create Rick and Morty, and I've actually had a drink in a bar with him in LA.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know him like as a friend level, don't get me wrong. We're not like buddies or anything, but I've met him. I mean, I think he still follows me on Twitter.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool fact.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I had I think it was like when On Board Games first followed me on Twitter, which was one of the first podcasts I ever started listening to, and I was, oh my god, I'm like somebody. Yeah. Someone I actually
Bez, I keep telling people you're somebody. I just don't remember your name when I'm telling. I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Talking of TV, one thing that I've watched a couple of episodes of, it's actually not easy going. The nice thing about Community is you can sort of turn your brain off and just watch it. It's not going to enrich your life. It's not going to make you a better person, but it's just there to make you smile or at least feel a little bit less bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And one thing that I've been watching is called The Midnight Gospel. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
So this is 18 rated, this show, so don't go watching it with kids in the thing. But it's basically about... So it's got a really interesting juxtaposition. It's by the same person who made Adventure Time. And got a really sort of mellow conversation with someone about the nature of life and death. And philosophy. It's really philosophical conversations, whilst the animation, it's like just 2 characters meeting each other and then they have a conversation and walk through really bizarre stuff.
Oh, okay, that sounds pretty cool, actually. Was it Midnight Gospel?
Yeah, the Midnight Gospel.
Should mention we've had some people saying hello, by the way. Sorry to interrupt. It's just I feel bad when we leave the viewers out. So we've had Sweetie Svelte said hi, everybody. Hello.
Oh, Sweetie Svelte.
And we also had Ian from Unpopular Mechanics who's tuned in. And,
lovely.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting a few people saying hello. Glasgow. I think that's the Bez effect. You know what? Actually, I do want to... I mean, unless there was anything else, because I did feel like I've got lots to cover, actually. I've got a lot of things to talk about. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, obviously, you are a games designer. You've designed several successful games. I mean, for me, I feel like it's actually quite a nice thing to have in your sort of back pocket. I've designed a few great games. But in terms of designing a game, is a question I have for you is, do you feel like there is a correct approach in designing a game, or do you feel like how do you approach that? Because I know that different designers have different perspectives on this, but I wanted to know what your perspective is on this.
And I think what you just said is that different designers do have different perspectives. So is there a correct way to do it? No, there bloomin' well isn't. There's people are getting together. It's a creative endeavor, and if you always start from the same point, then you're going to make very similar things.
Do you
But,
always start from different points when you design any of your games?
I think I do. So, like, for example, Couple, which is a game about it's a game for the L deck. So with the L deck, had made a bunch of games, and then I think someone else said, "Hey, you've got a words game, an alphabets game, a storytelling game. How about alphabetical, Wordle, and Fable?" And then Wordle got changed to Wibble because I thought someone else suggested that. But I really liked the notion of having everything ending in the same sound. And then once that was established, it was like, okay, what other games could there be in this universe? How about a game called Couple? And Couple is clearly a game of two players playing who love each other and are cooperating, and maybe you're focusing on each other's kind of words a bit more than your own. And then...
So that game came from the name?
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
And Couple was like that, whereas something like... Freemel, which is a terrible name. You can probably assume I didn't come up with that name first. But it's a game that I'm really proud of, where you're writing on bits of words and you're trying to have things make a combination of 1, 2, and 3-letter words.
Yeah.
So really short words, but perfectly balanced, ideally. So I think the perfect score would be 8 of each for 80 points. But no one's ever managed more than 70 so far.
Wow.
Anyway, the point is that that came from a previous game saying, oh, that was an interesting mechanism. Maybe I could use this. And right now, we're not able to play games face-to-face. Sally Jones and I are going to play a game together. Mm-hmm. Let me make a game that we can play in this new situation.
That's cool. So that the situation created a potential new game now.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I've heard other people talking about this earlier today. Mandela, who I know from Glasgow, was saying, oh, I've been making a quiz game that's designed so that people can play it via video chat. And more people are taking this into consideration. And I think that as more and more people... We are going to be in this situation for a year, I reckon. And given that we do need distractions, we want to be able to play games solitaire, but we also want to be able to play games via this medium, just talking to each other. And how can we do that? Some games can be adapted. And I know Asmodee's done a bunch of stuff. Alleycat's games I used to work for. They've given some advice saying, hey, this is how you can adapt our games and play them via video chat. But what about a game that's just streamlined? And then Mini Muckle came from Muckle, being, okay, let's just work through half the cards. How would that work? Let's shorten it. Let's break down all the rules. Let's make it much simpler. Let's say, okay, instead of having a weird scoring system, it's just 1 point per letter. But then I want to reward people for one long word, so let's just double the length of the points of the longest word. And everything is just from either a mechanism or a name or a theme or components, or from just, this would be a fun experience to have. Or, hey, what if you were connecting... I don't want to say what I was about to say, but that's a game that I've pitched and 2 publishers have, and I know that people say no one's going to steal your idea.
Oh, no.
But that is a thing. That's a difference between hobby games and mass market games. Because frankly, when you've got hobby games where they're difficult to design, they're difficult to develop, you've got to properly balance them. And then if you're lucky, you might sell like 10,000 copies. But then something that's a bit more mass market, like Yogi, if Gigamic had said, oh, we could sell 10,000 copies per year, I would have said, no, I reckon I could build up to doing that myself, frankly. And I still reckon I could have, but eventually. But
so you think that mass market games are easier to steal, so you're not prepared to say the game. And I think that's totally fine, by the way. Don't say it if you think it's...
No, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
Decided
yeah,
that.
of course.
So
I just wanted to clarify for the sort of people watching, basically.
But yeah, mass market games are easier to steal, because if you look at Animal Upon Animal, that's a fun game. But if someone had seen that before it came out, you could
easily
copy
it, yeah. No, that's a
totally... you could copy that, and if you say, oh, this is a spot the difference game, but it has this one twist. That one twist might be 99% of the work in the game. And it's about having the ingenuity, and sometimes you can spend like 5 minutes having the idea, but that's been the build-up of weeks and months of developing that skill set and being able to imagine people, being able to think what would be fun, and being able to build up an empathy, sort of. That's, I think, the biggest skill set that you can build as a game designer, empathy.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot. Like, I mean, okay, so based on what you've just said, what do you feel like, because I imagine you get asked this a lot as a games designer, and you have been interviewed by people before, like, but, and it's like a classic cliche interview question, but what would be sort of a great tip for people who are watching this, thought about designing their own game, bearing in mind everything you've just said? What is there like a really good tip that you think, like, actually that's helped me out the most, or just like a really small thing that maybe not a lot of people think about?
I mean, everyone talks about it, but playtesting, and not just playtesting your own games, but actually going ahead and playtesting other people's games, because then you can get a sense of how do other people change their games, watching firsthand. I mean, imagine if you could be let into the office of Magic the Gathering and sit with them for a year and watch how they go through that process. You would clearly be a better designer by the end of it. Now, they don't let people in, but willy-nilly, but all around you, and right now, you can join up with people from New York City, or you can join up with people from London. We have a thing every Friday daytime via Zoom that we're going to start building up. Gil Hova has the thing every late Tuesday UK time and Saturday, and that's a really nice thing to build up. And if you're prepared to go in and try other people's games and then watch how they evolve, see how they change over the course of things, you will learn over the course of just being with these people.
It's about seeing the iterative process of creating a game, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, actually, it's a great segue, because I wanted to ask you about playtesting as well, because I know that's I'm so sorry, like that tea. That's like obviously a big facet of your I'd say being, really, because you are very heavily invested in the playtesting group, Playtest UK, and you are leading most of the sessions. Obviously, you've talked just then about how important it is as a designer, but how would you sell people who aren't designers? How would you sell a playtesting session to people who aren't designers and merely just players? Like, why would you say, let's bring these people, you should try to come to a playtest session?
Okay, I will answer your question in 30 seconds, but first I want to kind of say that I don't do the majority of the Playtest UK sessions, because they do operate all around the UK.
I mean, that's true.
But yeah, definitely, I do a lot of them. Friday daytimes, I'm a big face there, but more and more over the past couple of years, David Brain and David Dawkins and even Ellie have been doing things whilst I've been gallivanting around Cannes or Essen or whatever. And
no, that's a fair point, actually, because I did, what I meant is that I live in London, so I go to the playtest sessions in London, the daytime ones, and Bez is almost always there. So that's what I meant for that. Obviously, there are multiple playtest sessions around the UK, and they are represented by lots of lovely people, but obviously that's only what I meant by what I said there.
Under one big umbrella, that's Playtest UK, which right now, because Playtest UK is so big on the in-person thing, it's a bit dormant, which is a bit of a shame. But what I will say, if you're thinking of, should I come to a playtest session or should I not? Firstly, and let's say you're not a designer, you don't have your own game made yet. Well, what can you expect? You can first expect to be welcomed. Expect that everyone's going to say, oh, lovely, you're coming along to playtest our things. You are so valuable. You're giving us this feedback. You're giving us this new viewpoint. Thank you very much. You will be welcomed. Secondly, I will say that if you like board games and you like playing new board games, but you don't like teaching them, then it's brilliant for you, because when you go to Playtest UK, you could basically never play the same board game twice. That would be, and some people just go because they don't like playing the same board game multiple times. And even if you played ostensibly the same game, it would actually be a completely different rule set. So it would be like, okay, this is a similar game, but this and this are different. And then be like, okay, great. And away you go and try to now enjoy this new set of rules. So if that sounds fun to you, then brilliant. If you like playing a big variety of games and seeing what you enjoy, finally, you can be part of the creative process just by virtue of saying, hey, this is something that I didn't like, or this is something that I liked. That's going to tell the designer, okay, maybe that thing I should remove, or that thing I should keep. And it's not like every single person can be listened to. But if there's a new vantage point, or if there's, okay, 2 people thought that, I should probably listen. Okay, 3 people thought this was bad, I'll definitely take it out. I mean, obviously, if I play Yogi Jr., like hypothetically, if I were working on that and I was playing it with people who only liked 18xx games, then, that might not be the best kind of audience for it. So I might take their feedback with a bit more grains of salt. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when you were saying one of the things I just mentioned, and actually it reminded me of, was how difficult it is to give honest feedback sometimes, which is something I've never really found is an issue at Playtest UK. And I think that's such a rare opportunity, and we're talking more for actual game designers now, but going to Playtest UK was such an interesting experience, like especially the first go with your first game, because they are literally brutal. They say, well, that actually doesn't work at all. I personally find I nowadays, I definitely find it easy to give honest feedback. And I actually remember the last game of yours that I play tested, I even said I didn't enjoy it. And that was, I felt a bit mean, but I was like, no, that's more valuable to you for me to tell you that, because you don't want me to say, well, it's fine if it's not, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's like, I mean, you've got different points in a game. Like, you might be asking, even, is this fun? Is it worth continuing with this idea? Because sure, there might be one hypothetical craft out for their entire life, but I don't. Someone who's made one game is probably going to make a second game after that. I mean, I would say that if you're a game designer, then you have multiple ideas. You don't just come up with an idea and say, okay, this is it, and what's good about it, make some small tweaks, because you want to make a game that people are going to enjoy. And if people aren't...
it seems like we've hit a bit of a snag.
If you need to chuck out...
I say, if anyone's watching, don't worry, bear with us. It's just a slight technical a snag there, but it seems to be, it will recover shortly, so apologize. So basically, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and it's something I mentioned to you in person, was that you have a specific, what's the word I'm thinking of? There is a specific idea you have in terms of language that we use when we talk about board games. Is that right? In terms of like how we use to describe aspects of board games, what we do in board games, because I think that maybe this is something that...
I'm trying to remember what you're referring to be honest. I've said a lot of things, so it's entirely possible that I've talked a lot about this.
I think it was mainly in the idea that there is a discussion to be had around what language we use to describe board games, because often as a person who knows a lot about board games and use the language that is used there, it's very technical and it's very sort of finicky and it's not always outsider friendly. But then there's also, so to an outsider, it sometimes is quite off-putting for them to understand a board game just based on what they can read.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, if I say, oh, this is a deck builder, you and I instantly know what that means. But if I said to even Jess, if Jess is still watching, oh, this is a deck builder that I want to teach you, I don't think they'd know what that means. So I'd say, okay, this is a game where you start off with a bunch of cards and then you, over the course of the game, change your deck in order to make it better and more powerful as time goes on.
Yes.
But it's probably there is a thing about jargon, and jargon is really, really important. And you have people like Jeff Engelstein and Isaac Shalev, not too long ago, it was just last year, co-authored a book about a whole list of board game mechanisms. And in that book was an academic textbook. It's been integrated into the website Board Game Geek. And it's really important for a designer to be able to say, okay, are we doing a once around auction, or is it an English auction, for example? And being aware of what those terms mean. Because if you want to say, oh, I think for this thing, this is the solution to your problem, and just throw in things, it means that you're able to talk technically. It doesn't mean that everyone has to know this jargon to be a good playtester, or even to enjoy the games. To enjoy the games, we should be making them as accessible as possible. And so what I would suggest is, like, if you look at Abandon All Artichokes by Emma May, I think it is, where that's like a deck builder that's made for the mass market, where they say, okay, this is a game where you start off with a deck of artichokes and you're trying to get rid of all the artichokes in your personal deck of cards. And if you ever draw a hand with no artichokes, you win.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's very simple. I actually really like to play that game, actually.
Yeah, I've not had a chance myself, but it's framing it in a thematic way. It's making it more meaningful. And then you look at something like Plants Against Zombies, which is obviously a video game, not a board game, but it uses what Mark Rosewater calls piggybacking, where you're using real-world concepts to make mechanisms make sense. So, okay, plants are going to be stationary. Of course you can't move plants. Who imagines that you cannot put a plant? I mean, yeah, you could. Let's not go down that route. But, like, basically, once you put down a plant, that's it. And then, of course, all the zombies are going to be mindless and just march on and be really incredibly slow because they're blooming zombies. And so I think that thinking how can the game mechanisms be simple enough to understand, but also make sense within this context. Yeah, it's really important. And I think that on the back of my things, I try to explain each game with just one text or one
sentence.
Line. Yeah,
I've got that on here. Yeah, well, I've got one of your old school versions, but it just literally says for Wibble, the fastest word game in the West. Is that still true?
And now I had that in the deluxe edition. It said the fastest word game around.
So it's been improved.
But then I changed it to say, actually, you know what? It's probably not true, and actually, just being the fastest game isn't that big of a deal. It's like, that doesn't make it a good game. So what I now say is words, freedom, and speed. Okay. So it's all about words, the freedom to use any additional letters you want, and speed.
It's funny how we're talking about the iterative design process, and that carries through into, like, after you release a game as well, it seems, in terms of how you market it. So it's actually super important. One of those, just briefly, you've said about the, and I don't want to sort of like delve into this, but is that what you were saying about the redefining of language in terms of Board Game Geek used that? Is that what they did? Is that what that was about when they rebranded a lot of the mechanism?
Oh yes, that was exactly it.
Okay, cool.
That was all from the book.
That's cool.
So the point was to basically say, hey, our mechanisms weren't good in the past. This academic book has just come out. This feels like a really good starting point. Let's use this academic book and just... So it's basically become the go-to thing.
Fair enough. That's great. Okay, so it's good to know what that was about anyway, because for those who weren't aware. So I want to talk about Kickstarter, because you have you're quite a prolific Kickstarter creator.
Yeah.
You've used it for every game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously Yogi, which wasn't published, every self-published game. Let's put it that way. And I can't imagine doing a game without Kickstarter, because I'm still in a position where there's a big question of what do you need.
Yes.
Because, okay, I could afford to print 3,000 games right now and not use Kickstarter, but then maybe not pay my rent for the rest of the year and be chucked out.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
thing that I could do.
I would
But
advise that though, and that's
yeah,
what you mean,
you know
isn't it?
what I mean. But basically, in order to remain sane and be able to lead the life of living in a place, and
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing that it's worth pointing out that, okay, in order to live, we need oxygen and food, and uh, yeah, what needs is a strong word, but
Yeah.
basically, yes, I pretty much need Kickstarter, let's say, to make it financially viable to make games because
Hmm.
I don't have the money, sadly, to do it otherwise.
Hmm.
I've been in a really nice position. So, Cataclysm, which is the one game that I didn't talk about, that I printed last year along with Wibble Plus Plus Deluxe, now known as the LDEC,
Hmm.
and I've managed to basically sell out. So I've got about 20 copies of each approximately.
I have
And
one of them right here. Not the unsold
it,
one, obviously, but
but I'm in a position where I've spent most of that money going to conventions and
Mhm.
stuff. And so I'm massively privileged because Yogi, it has sold in so many
Yeah.
languages, it's making me an
How
income.
many languages are you up to now on Yogi, by the way?
Um,
Is it like 11 or something?
no, it's closer to 20. I
Wow,
mean,
wow. That's a lot of
last
languages.
time I counted, it was 19, and yeah, it would have been 20 by now, but things might have been
Yeah.
slowed down over
I mean,
the
how does that make you
start of this
feel? Like
year.
that must be like a real proud moment for you that something that came. And actually, I don't want to sort of
It
put words in
is.
your mouth, but I know how Yogi came about, or In a Bind came about. It came about from a small aspect of a different game that wasn't really a physical game that you were designing, but people seem to enjoy this one physical element and that you turned into its own game. But so that's a perfect example of why you go to playtest, because people told you
Yeah.
in that that's what happened. But how does it feel that something that you came up with is now being played, in multiple countries around the world in different languages, and is essentially like giving you a bit of a living now?
It's I'm being careful just because the intensity of the emotion makes me want to swear, and obviously I'm aware that this is a family
This
friendly
is
show.
fine. It's not for
But
kids.
this is a it's I'm super hyper mega proud of it.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way. Just like seeing all when I got a version in Japanese, and I'm actually going to show
that's
you
amazing.
them one at a time. So I don't know what this says.
It's a
Rak niet
boxed
in de
version.
var. So this we'll go that. This one is in Korean. I don't know if you can see that
Oh
text.
wow, that's yeah, I can see it. That's great.
This one's in English. I mean, it came out in English fairly early on.
Yeah.
This one's in French. Les jeux tordons de pose tord.
All right.
Um,
Just for the sake of not having to go through all 19 versions of it, but obviously that's a very strong
and when
emotion that it's bringing up in
when
you.
I saw the Japanese version, it was like, wow, I my game is being sold across the world, and like now it's in Thai and Korean, and it
That's
it still
crazy.
boggles my mind. It still doesn't feel entirely real, and occasionally I see a video of someone else playing it in a completely different culture where there's a video in, I think, Korean, where there's like a tiny family and
Oh, I've
then they're
seen this
kind of
video.
like this. And then there's a video in Thai where like people played it and I was like, oh my god, this is like these people who I've never met really enjoying it, and then they've got like crazy sound effects of it. And it
Just asked actually. Where's your Thai one? I'm assuming then it is available in Thailand.
yes, it is.
Fantastic. There we go. You can buy one. Just can buy.
I mean,
And Sweetie
Jeff
Svelt's
is
asked if
aware
they
of
have
this,
it in
and
Russian, by the way.
I
You don't.
don't
If you don't know, I
know.
mean, that's fine. I'm sure you can find out.
Um,
But
what language is this? I genuinely no, that's Thai, isn't it?
look, I would guess Thai based on the
Yeah,
characters, but I'm not
I
100.
don't
percent
think it's Russian.
Russian has
There's
lots of like blocky letters,
um,
but
um, Italian.
it's really cool. Like, I mean, I have tried to. Jess bought
Oh,
it in Bangkok for Bez, apparently. But yeah,
no,
basically, I mean, we can talk more about your sort of games in a second. It's just so impressive, though. I mean, I'm glad that you are at that point now where you are a worldwide game designer, because that's essentially what you are. And I can see from your face that it's one of your...
Sometimes I do worry, okay, is that going to be my only thing? And it is quite possible that that will continue to be my best-selling thing, because this isn't to take away from future stuff. This is just to acknowledge that Yogi, it is almost a perfect storm. It's insanely simple. Like, I could describe it right now in 20 seconds. You've got cards, they give you instructions, for example, one finger touching nose, one finger touching ear, two hands touching, cards on the head, and then you still need to draw your next card. And that's the entire game. And if you can't, then you lose. And when you see people playing it, it's like, what's going on? You want to join in. And it is that perfect storm of simplicity and marketing itself. And when people are at the convention, if you show, you can demo it in like 30 seconds. People just come by, and at Essen, people said, oh, don't need a demo, I'll just buy a copy.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And it's...
The reason, by the way, because I talk about Kickstarter, sorry to interrupt, but obviously talking about Kickstarter, because I reckon time is actually flying by, so it's actually amazing.
Kickstarter right now. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, yeah, because I wanted to give you a chance to plug your Kickstarter that's going right now, but yeah, so I mean, go ahead, let us know what.
Yeah, I don't have an easy link to it right now, which is terrible.
I can post one on the chat.
If you go to my Twitter, which is twitter.com/stuffbyBez, or if you can...
Don't worry, if you describe it, and I'm going to link to the Twitter in the chat
for you. Basically, what's happening is for the cards in Kitty Cataclysm, we had some art that some people liked, like the Cat Burglist, the Cat's Ass Trophy, Catch, a Catalogue, Catchier, and the Pyramid Scheme.
You drew those, though, because not a lot of people might know that, but you did the original art for In a Bind and most of your games.
All my self-published games. At some points in the future, I do want to have many different tile decks with typography from other people. So if you're an artist, like, I'm going to basically be a system of advance payment mixed with royalties for all artists. If you want to draw types, if you want to draw a complete letter face with some numbers and make it themed around one of the games, get in touch.
I saw. By the way, sorry, I just reminded, because you're saying about different types, and I saw that is it you that's been working on the sort of nature version?
No, that was by Miles.
Miles, that was so good. That was so good.
Yeah, they basically got in touch. They were saying, "Hey, I'm just looking for some work." Basically, they were right out of a thing, and I was like, well, you know what? There's no real deadline when you want to do it. Here's like the cash amount. Does this seem fair? And they were like, yeah, that seems perfectly fair. And I'm a very small publisher, so I'm basically saying, you know what? 10% of everything. And so for Categorical, it's going to be 10% of sales go to Tom Cauldron. If I had like, for the artist, 10% goes to the artist. I want to establish that as a thing going forward for everything. So if one day I'm in a position where I am personally selling tens of thousands of copies of whatever, hopefully that will be a time when I can get more established artists. But right now it's just to say, hey, this is Couple. It's by this lovely person. They've made gorgeous artwork. Check it out, buy it, and there'll be little bits of info about him. But it is still a Bez thing. I mean, it's still a game that I made. But like, back to this. For this, if you're in the UK, for £2, you can get 12 different stickers. Or actually, right now, it'll be 14 stickers in the pack, because now we just reached a stretch goal of 150
congratulations.
Stickers. And so we're picking a 7th one. And I reckon we're going to definitely get to 8 by the end of the campaign, fingers crossed, but maybe we'll see how we go.
Like, I've posted the link in the chat, so if you do want to back it, for £2, that's a bargain. Go ahead and use that link to back it. Now, we are running low on time, but I did want to do something. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise to you, but you did say you had the games ready. We know how much you are a fan of playtesting. And obviously you have designed several games, so I thought that I would playtest a game that I've developed based on your games. So what I'll need you to do is grab a Yogi deck and an LDEC.
Okay, does it matter which language?
Well, you have to understand it. So, I mean, I'm assuming that based on the artwork alone, you can figure it out, right? But probably English or a language that you speak would be better. So I'm going to explain the rules. It's very simple. And again, this is a playtest, so it's probably not going to be a great game. But we're going to try it out, right? And I've called this Yogle.
Okay.
Because, Yogi and the LDEC. But I was thinking, actually, you should come up with a game that's Bezel. Right? Because that's
Which uses all the games together.
You have to come up with, you have to create, like, a border or something. Like a bezel, like a square. And you have to, like, connect the, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the designer. So. Anyway, back to my game.
I mean, you are.
I have to.
You definitely made very nice content for what Ross isn't telling you is that Ross made a kind of game of would you rather do X or Y, and I think there was afterwards that Vladar Battle game which came out. But it was a really nice game, that one that you did, and I think the brilliant thing about it was basically the content creation. So you had so many inventive, funny cards in there.
I mean, I love that you're pushing me, but nobody cares about me. We care about you, Bez. We care about you. So anyway, take the deck, right? Take the deck. So this is how the game works. Okay, we're gonna take turns. You have to draw a Yogi card, right? Follow the rules, and then you immediately have to draw a Wibble card, still while holding the rules of obeying the rules of the Yogi card, and you have to name as quickly as you can a game that begins with at least one of the letters from the Wibble, the LDEC, okay? And then it's over to you, and then over to me for example, and then you have to draw a Yogi card and then a Wibble card. By the way, you can miss a turn if you name a game that is both of those letters in a row. So in a game that begins with N and then the second word of it is F, right? It's going to be very difficult to do that. So you get to skip a go if that happens, all right? Okay. So and we're going to see how long we can go, right? So and the winner is the last player standing. How does that sound?
Of course.
Okay? All right.
Okay, let's try it.
I'll go first because I will have, I guess, first player disadvantage. All right. So left wrist bent. Okay. So that counts, all right? Okay. So does that. And then card is N or F. So let's just do Nussfjord. But that isn't an N-F game because that's just a one word. But that was pretty clever, I have to say. Okay. All right, so now it's over to you.
You're thinking, okay, so I've got this card touching right elbow.
Okay.
And you are allowed to do it in the crook of the elbow. That's an important rule.
You're the designer. You could just be saying anything and it would go. So.
And R or W, I'm going to say Wibble.
Okay, fine. All right. So my turn, right hand above elbow. So I guess, does it have to be right hand above either elbow? Or how's that?
Right hand above right elbow.
Okay, so I'll do that. And I'll do this. You can't see it, but I am keeping it above it. And then EK. I'm going to say, oh my gosh. How can I not think of Empires of the North? That's the Portal game. So yeah, there we go. Your turn.
Okay, right palm face down. Okay. So there, it's going to stay face down. Good. And then I've got O and F, and I'm going to have Fable.
Fable. Oh, that's your own game. That's good. That's good. All right, so I'm going down here again. I've got right hand above left hand. Oh god. Okay, this is going to be very difficult already. So I'm going to have to go down here. Bear with me a sec. And then I've got SB. I can't think of a game that does both of them. But let's say, oh my gosh, Babel? No, it's not. That's not. Babel. Babel. The game Babel. Yeah, I think it's Ronnie Knizia. No, it's not him. But Babel. It's a real game. Okay. All right. So it's your turn.
Oh man, I've got right hand above left hand as well.
Oh man. Okay.
That's only because we're using two different decks. So I'll keep my right hand high, and we've got T or C. And I'm just going through my own games couple.
Oh man, I gotta try and get some of those. Oh, and you can't use the same game with someone else. All right, back on with it. I've got right palm face down. Oh my gosh, all the hand ones. And so this is going to be really difficult. Hang on, it's still there. I've got it. Oh no, do you know what? Even by doing that, I've just broken that rule. So I've lost NU. All right, well that was fun. Well done, Bez. You outlasted me. So, give me your feedback. How does that work?
I would say that it doesn't rule. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a kind of compliment to my games, obviously. I feel like it doesn't really bring much new to the Yogi aspects. I mean, basically, the thing that's going to make you win or lose is the game of Yogi. And the other thing is just like, well, you need to pass this in order to be able to do it. It's like if there were some timing element, like if it was like, okay, the first person to shout gets to pick,
or everybody else has to draw a card.
Who does the
Oh, that would be good. So basically you reveal it, and then you have to then the first person to get the answer gets everybody else to draw a card, and that's how the game becomes competitive.
Yeah, because then at least both of them would work. I mean, it would still be incredibly niche because you've got to have someone who enjoys both the word building and the dexterity. And I guess this kind of ties into how much should a game do. Yeah. Like, do you want a game that just focuses on one thing and it's like, okay, this is what this game is all about. It's about shouting words quickly. Or do you want to have a game where, okay, it's about making words quickly, but you're also grabbing things and putting them into a pile. I mean, that would also be fun, but every extra thing that you're adding on is going to lower the accessibility and make it. But for a game that's like,
I literally came up with it in like 10 minutes earlier on today.
Yeah, I guess as much. But honestly,
hey, that's that honest feedback that we value so much in playtesting. So appreciate it.
No, but like honestly, sometimes the other important thing to say is that not every game has to be published to be worthwhile. If you make a game that's just for you and a very close group of friends, but it's something that you really enjoy, that's totally awesome. And then you're enjoying it and you've brought pleasure to the lives of you and those around you. Well, and I know someone who literally made a game with literal like plasticine miniatures that they made of them and their friends, and it was basically all about, oh, here's like that memory that we had, and like all that was built into the game. And it wasn't a game that was designed to be played by anyone except outside this small group of maybe like 10 people.
Sometimes, we've got to realize that is ultimately what games are about, isn't it? Enjoying time spent with friends.
And bringing people together.
Sorry, what was that? Do you know what? I think someone has just done a thing. I can't remember, but someone's just followed us. Sorry. Thank you so much, by the way. That's really appreciated. Anyway, we have got 5 minutes left, so I think it's a good time to bring in some viewer questions. If you do have any questions, random questions, game-related questions, anything, now's the chance to ask them. We're going to go back and we're going to ask a question that was asked earlier on in the chat, which was... have you written any songs about your games? And I'm guessing that's based on some knowledge they have of you. Maybe you're a musical person. I mean, just want to point out something you might not have known, but the last time we did this, Bez thought that we were streaming live to people and had to fill some time, which was very kind of her. She absolutely didn't, because we weren't streaming it at the time, but she literally just vamped a song. Improv style, and you even did it before this stream as well, which is very impressive. But is that something you normally do? And as a result, is that something you've ever done? Made a game about a song about one of your games? I mean, you did you did a title sequence for Tea and a Chit Chat, so I'm gonna guess yes. Yeah, basically.
So if you go to the original Kickstarter for In a Bind, so if you put in IN space A space BIND. Yeah. And then go to the old Kickstarter, you will see the video where it's basically me singing a song kind of over some gravelly rap video. And
have I not known about this, Bez? I've known you for ages and I didn't know about this.
And then for Wibble++, I made a song, but I might not have recorded it. It goes like, I made up the fastest word game in the West. I'm biased, but it's also maybe the best.
That's good.
Find words quickly, but make sure to use a letter from every card or you use.
That's so good. Bravo, Bez. Bravo. I'm very impressed. So, I mean, they were going to ask if you could sing one, and you just did. So, question answered. That's great. I'm going to ask another question. Somebody asked basically, where can they find a list of the games Bez has produced? Now, I'm assuming you have your own Board Game Geek page.
Yes, yeah? they changed the Board Game Geek designer pages recently, so it only shows your one most popular game, which is kind of a bit of a shame.
That is weird.
And then you need to click a button to show all the other games.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there is. I'm going to link your designer page to the people watching so they can actually check for themselves. But yeah, let me just post that in the chat for them so they can check.
Yeah,
So
I think that ultimately, if you want to be give the smallest number of games board games that I could be said to have made is free. Because I do want to also, literally for 30 seconds, just say, yeah, I also made LARP for King's College London. I was commissioned by them to make a game all about legal gender status, which we playtested with a couple of times, had 40 people who all said it was quite good. I said it was meant to run one last time, which didn't happen because of... But let's not...
Well, I mean, like the specifics, I think it's fair to say that if they wanted to find any of the games that have been sort of, I guess, acknowledged by Board Game Geek, you can find them on that page. Yeah. But you're not just that page. You are more than that page. And if people want to follow what you do, they can follow you on Twitter. In fact, we are running quite close to the end of the time. So what I would suggest perhaps for you is if you wanted to plug how people can stay in touch with you, because obviously even if people aren't watching live, they might watch this back.
Stuff by Bez, STUFFBYBEZ.
And that's on Twitter.
If you go to twitter.com/stuffbybez or instagram.com/stuffbybez or facebook.com/thingsbybez, because Facebook doesn't let you have the F and the B next to each other, but if you search for Stuff by Bez, you'll still find me, and stuffbybez@gmail.com or stuffbybez.com.
Okay.
Those you'll be able to find me. Or if you want to buy my stuff, go to stuffbybez.bigcartel.com.
Cool. Are you in with the cartel? I did not know that. That's good.
Well, it's just
it's just a merchandise website. That's cool.
Basically they take a low percentage of stuff, which is quite nice.
All right, well, fantastic. So yeah, well, I mean, we should probably wrap it up now because we're actually getting to the last minute. But Bez, thank you so much.
We don't have any time for any other listener questions.
Well, unfortunately, no. I mean, we are literally close to the. We are literally 1 minute before. I don't like to go over because I feel like we could just go on and on and on, but people have things to do. 1 more hour, Ross from More Games Please is suggesting that. Listen, everyone that's watching, I just got to do another plug again. If you want to follow my channel, you can exit the full screen if you're watching it, and there should be a follow button in that corner, I think, above there. Click that. Everyone's just saying 1 more hour, 2 more hours. We wish we could, but I have things to do as well, unfortunately.
I have things to do tonight as well. I'm actually streaming some games later tonight, but
oh yes, and you do stream stuff as well. I've noticed that Tuesday nights, right? You stream your own stuff.
And Thursdays.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And Thursdays are going to be the giveaway day. That's going to be the one that I really push, because I also do Board Games with Bez, which is a kind of internet radio show which streams every 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So it's like, I don't want... If you like listening to stuff, go there, Bunkazilla. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
I was going to say, it seems like I'm more thankful that you managed to give us an hour of your time the more you talk, because it's it seems like you're just full of... Your schedule is absolutely full.
Honestly, it's been brilliant seeing you and talking.
I'm the same, Bez. Honestly, you're such a lovely person. I always love chatting to you. You've got so much interesting stuff to say. I love your games. Everyone follow Bez. You won't regret it. So I have to plug the next, heart shape. Thanks everybody for chatting. I should just do one more thing. The next interview that we've got is this Friday at 6 p.m. UK time. And we're actually interviewing Lincoln Demurst from Board Game Geek, which I'm very excited, and hoping Nikki Pontius as well will make an appearance in that. So yeah, please tune in Friday at 6 p.m. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and hopefully see you all on the next stream. Until then, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.